Okay, so it's Droid Cam. Okay. How about now? Are we good? Can you hear me now? Alright, so now the microphone's on. Should be good. Tell me if it's echoey, reverbery, whatever it is. Good. Hello, Way doing his things. Hello, Solarius. Hello, Stone Smurf. Hello, NBEC. NBEC. How are you? How's your Monday been? To those whom the weekend ended this morning, that is, how are you? To those who it ended after Shabbos, how are you? Trump is the gentle Messiah. Hello, Amisai. Do you feel he is indeed the anointed one? A bit echoey. Hang on. Let's take this down. Okay, maybe this will be better. Now, I need to move the text a little bit. I think that's good, and then we'll start. Ooh, what a day. But I am here. Now it's reverberating. Hold on. Let's turn the mic up. Hey, come on, man. Oh, I need to cancel the noise. Hang on, I think I know what it is. Okay. Yeah. Hold on. I need to get a microphone. I actually have one here, but I'm not going to do it. Hold on a sec. Let's mute this. Okay, this should be good. Yes, I think it's good. One more check. Is the text okay? Can you see the text okay? Is it properly aligned? Good. This should be it. Perfect. This is muted. That's okay. Here we go, Messilat Yesharim. So last week in the introduction to Messilat Yesharim, Rabbi Moshe Chayim Lutzato, speaking about why study these issues to begin with. Now we are going to continue with is that feedback that I hear? Is there feedback that I hear? Am I hearing feedback now? The Baraita by Rabbi Yosef Sebag. Oh, come on! What's not muted here? This? No. Hey. I don't know what's going on. Something is reverberating. Wait. Okay. Hopefully this is better. Volume a little low. All right. I'll just start. You're just going to roll with it. And if you can't hear me, my eyes will be on the chat to let me know. And hello, Art of Calmness. Hey, Zen-like monk, and Cold 338. You two are being ridiculous. I've spoken of Messilat numerous times on this stream. That's simply what we're doing right now. All right. Let's go. The Baraita of Rabbi Yosef speaks of 10 different things. Watchfulness, zeal, cleanliness, separation, purity, piety, humility, fear of sin, and holiness. Now we will clarify them one by one with God's help. So last week, the introduction, the first chapter, he spoke of what is the foundation of piety. How does one walk in a straight path? Hold on. Still mic issue. Yes, I hear it too. Hold on. Hey, 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 hey. Okay, this should be good. Let me know if it's still it. Yes, it is an ancient practice we still do. And I'm always of the opinion that you do it with a single use, like surgical apparatus, like a straw like thing, and not with the mouth. Some people still do it with the mouth, suck out a bit of blood, spit it out. And I've spoken of it many times. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair arranged in his teaching, which he brought in the introduction, right, which was spoken of in the introduction, which we didn't read at the introduction, but these are the 9 or 10 steps. The last one brings about great change. So let's go with chapter 2. I have a cup of tea. Hold on a second. Tea bag goes over there. Oh, I've got that Central Perk kind of vibe here. How are you all? How are you all? Let's see. Okay. What is the idea of watchfulness? Is for one to be cautious of his deeds and matters, namely, contemplating and watching over his deeds and ways, whether they are good or evil, not abandoning his soul to the danger of destruction, God forbid, and not walking through the course of habit like a blind man in darkness. Reason certainly obligates this, for after a person has knowledge and reason to save himself and escape from the destruction of his soul, how is it conceivable that he would willingly blind his eyes from saving himself? In other words, once it becomes clear to you that this work needs to be done, how is it that what is it that would be stopping you? What are the adversarial elements of watchfulness? In other words, something stirs you, and you feel you need to walk a certain path. And there are things that will come at you. Come on. Feedback. More feedback. And there are things that will come at you. What are they? Okay. There is certainly no debasement and foolishness worse than this. One who does this is lower than beasts and wild animals, says Ramchal, whose nature it is to protect themselves, escaping and fleeing from whatever seems harmful to them. In other words, it's part of like self-preservation. And they have what did he say? They have the nature to stay away from things that might harm them. One who walks along in this world without contemplating whether his ways are good or evil is similar to a blind man walking on the bank of a river. His danger is certainly very great, and his calamity is more likely than his escape. It's an impossible thing. Ramchal in the introduction speaks about how we are put in the midst of the battlefield with trouble ahead, trouble behind, and you know that notion just crossed my mind. A blind man walking on the bank of a river. The danger is greater. The calamity is more likely. For negligence in guarding oneself from danger due to natural blindness and to negligence due to willful blindness, namely shutting one's eyes by choice and desire, is one and the same. Natural blindness and shutting one's eyes by choice and desire. To not watch, to not be watchful. Jeremiah would bemoan on the evil of his contemporaries' affliction with the disease of this trait. They would turn a blind eye to their deeds, not putting heart to consider what they were doing. whether to do or refrain from doing it. Hold on, I'm going to go to the chat a moment. The mic's dead. Hang on. I'll just go to the volume mixer over here. Microphone, okay. Let's change the microphone. And then we'll see, maybe that will change. Okay. Better? Not better? Headphones should help. Yeah, I've got, got a terrible setup here with just a laptop and a phone, and so it's feeding off each other, I suppose. But if it's better, then it's cool. Thank you, the art of calmness. Let's continue. Jeremiah would bemoan his contemporaries. Regarding them, he said, "No man regrets of his evil, saying, 'What have I done?' Each one running to his own course, as the horse rushes into the battle." There aren't people who are even saying, "Oh man, I'm really stuck with some crappy situation. I'm doing things that are wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be doing it. Maybe I should try harder. Maybe I could be better. Maybe I could be more than I am right now." They would turn a blind eye to this. To turn a blind eye to their deeds is one thing. Not putting heart to consider what they are doing is another. We do have patterns that we are each stuck with, or not even stuck with, but it's simply our problem right now in life. There are always problems in life. There's to turn a blind eye to the deeds altogether. There's to turn a blind eye to the heart, whether to do or refrain from doing it. And this can be the next time. Shuvah, repentance, atoning, returning. It's all inextricably connected with the next time. Cook says in Orot HaTshuvah and many others, if a person immediately comes to dwell on all of the past and ruminate and take that entire sack of history of evil deeds, of times when the heart was not put, consideration was not given, or we carry this sack of things sometimes. But to think of the future, if you immediately come and take down that sack and start rummaging through it, it's going to be terrible. You might spiral down into a negative kind of inaction. This kind of, right, when you don't put your heart to consider what you're doing, it may very well be that eventually you'll turn a blind eye to the deed altogether. Right, the verse from Jeremiah 8:6. The explanation is that they would pursue and go by the momentum of habit and conduct without leaving themselves time to consider their deeds and ways. Thus they fall into evil without even seeing it. I don't have the time. When I have the time, I'll do X. When the stars align, when the circumstances are better. Hang on a second. Yes, some do still do it the old way. I'm sure. I don't know the percentages. But yeah, some of them do. Okay. Continuing. In truth, says Rabbi Moshe Chayim Lutzato. This is the Rabbi Yosef Sebag translation on Sefaria. The link is in the description if you want to continue. We're on chapter 2. This is one of the cunning strategies of the evil inclination, to relentlessly burden people's hearts with his service, so as to leave them no room to reflect and consider which road they are taking. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. I'm still waking up. I had an hour of a nap, as I said before, and it's been a long day with the kids being home and trying to work. I took an hour nap. I woke up. I was all like in a daze. And I said, no, I want to do this. I'm doing this. And I'm very happy to be here with you, good people, studying Messilat Yesharim. The evil inclinations, or the evil inclination, Yetzer Hara. So many different things. Here's the deal with Yetzer Hara, basically. He's doing his job, to relentlessly burden people's hearts with his service, so as to leave them no room to reflect. Set the stage. Make them busy, make them think they have no time. Make them think they don't have enough time. For he knows, continues Ramchal, that if they were to put their ways to heart even the slightest bit, certainly they would immediately begin to feel regret for their deeds. In other words, when you contend with something and you are open to, and you are vulnerable, then you begin to feel regret. Now, regret is multifaceted. So you need to explore the nature of your particular regrets. So it's not black or white at all. But for all intents and purposes, these are things that you simply feel that do not align with who you are, would want to be, by your own definitions. The remorse would go and intensify within them until they would abandon the sin completely. In other words, it's one thing leading into the other. It's a chain reaction of considering with the heart whether or not to do something, not turning a blind eye to the heart's call of maybe that wasn't so good. It's at least worth exploring and putting your heart and your mind into action on whether or not this would be a proper way to conduct oneself. He knows if they were to put their ways to heart even the slightest bit, there are things that are seemingly so self-evident to a person, but they keep doing them in the very same way that Ramchal said in the first passages of Messilat Yesharim, to the degree that all of these things that he has put forth are ubiquitous and so well known, and nobody denies and argues against them being fundamentals of the faith and of conduct. And yet, to the degree that that is so prevalent, and that idea of, oh, of course it is, people are not actually taking the time to study these matters. And so he said, I didn't write these things down to remind them of what they don't know. They do know, but I'm here to tell them you need to immerse yourself in these teachings on the regular if you are to make them practice, make them habit, give them a place in your daily life. That's why he says the benefit of this book is not in reading it once or twice, but in periodically coming back to it and gleaning more things from it. Don't be the kind who can't see the forest from the trees. Take the time to invest in these studies. Take the time to invest your heart and your mind in what it is that you are doing. This is similar, he continues, to the wicked Pharaoh's advice, saying, intensify the men's labor. His intention was to leave them no time whatsoever to oppose him or plot against him. In other words, keep them busy, keep them working, keep them moving, keep their eyes on all kinds of things so they don't pay attention to. He strove to confound their hearts, confound us, of all reflection by means of the constant, incessant labor. This constant, incessant labor. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's the constant, incessant labor of the evil inclination, or it's the constant, incessant labor of trying to do the right thing and the righteous thing with the good inclination. You gotta serve somebody. Serve somebody. It may be the devil. It may be the Lord. This is precisely the ploy employed by the evil inclination on human beings. For he is a skilled warrior, expert in the art of cunning. It is impossible to escape from him without great wisdom and far-reaching vision. You need something way in the distance. You need something feasible, tangible, or maybe even just past that edge. Something you can break down, like he does here with the steps of one leading into the next. Great wisdom. And wisdom is something that comes from experience, and it comes from love, and it comes from suffering. It is impossible to escape from him without great wisdom. They say that the master has failed more times than the student has even tried. This is what the prophets screamed out This is what the prophet screamed out, Haggai the prophet, give head to your ways. Give head. Give head to your ways. I was thinking of Simu levavchem al darchechem, but there's the translation. Give heed, give head to your ways. I like that. That's a good bumper sticker. Give heed to your ways. In other words, pay attention. And as Shlomo in his wisdom said, give not sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Save yourself as a deer from the hand of a hunter, and as a bird from the hand of a fowler. Just like Ramchal said earlier, it's in an animal's nature to run away from danger. It's like know when to confront it, but basically don't go into anything that might harm you in a very basic biological sense, physiological sense. Animals have stimulus, they have stimulus response more. They have their own mind, of course. They have their brain, of course. Beasts like these, right? To save yourself from the hunter, the bird from the fowler. And our sages, as blessed memory said, whoever scrutinizes his ways in this world merits to see the salvation of the Holy One, blessed be He. Pay attention to who you are now, who you could be, who you want to be. What is it that you're doing? Pay attention, be watchful. And it is obvious that even if one is watchful over himself, it is not within his power to save himself without the help of the Holy One, blessed be He. In other words, you need to let that divine revelation into you. It's something that buttresses you, right? It doesn't shield you, but it gives you it could shield you. But I don't work in that sort of mind frame. It's something where it gives you the backwind, it gives you the momentum. For the evil inclination is enormously powerful, as Scripture says. The wicked watches the righteous and seeks to slay him. God will not forsake him to his power. If a man is watchful, and woman is watchful over himself, then the Holy One, blessed be He, helps him, and he will be saved from the evil inclination. There's a line in the Talmud. He who wants to become impure, they open it up to him. And he who wants to become pure is helped. His hand is aided. It's not necessarily an open door. It's pushing you, sometimes gently, sometimes maybe more harshly, depending on the nature of the situation, into this is where I need to go, this is what I need to do, I need to watch what I'm doing. It helps you to pay attention when you give it that, when you are open to the experience. Let's continue. But if he is not watchful over himself, the Holy One, blessed be He, will certainly not watch over him. Now again, this is very cut and dry for the Ramchal. I see things a little bit differently. For if he gives no heed to himself, who should give heed to him? Right? If I am not from my... Oh, he said that right there at the end. I'll just continue. This is as our sages of blessed memory have said. It is forbidden to pity anyone who has no knowledge. Once again, this needs to be understood in context. Masechet Brachot. Pardon me. And this is the meaning of what they said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? Take responsibility. Be accountable. Be watchful. Don't turn a blind eye. We're going to go with chapter 3. I'll go to the chat first. Hello, people in the chat. How are you? What is going on? The chat, let's see, it's 129. Okay, let's see. Was there anything specific that came in? Bad Back Studio says, I don't know. Are you living in a fantasy world? I guess it was going back and forth in the chat. People with Free Palestine. I agree. Free Palestine from Hamas. Free Palestine from the terrorist regimes that oppress them. I definitely agree. And thank you, good people, for supporting Israel in its just war against the terrorist groups. What happens if you drink wine? Hello, Andrew. Good to see you again. What happens if I drink wine? Well, if we're talking about a time when there is the court, and there is warning, and there are witnesses, I get flogged for every certain amount that I drink and every time that I drink, again, with warning and with witnesses. It's a process of being punished in the court. But what would happen on a personal level if I drink wine, I have no idea. But I would think that I would feel pretty bad about it, even if it is accidental, because if there was a chance that there's something, I would ask, oh, but is there anything grape derived in it? I'd like to think that if I was handed a drink and I wasn't sure and I didn't know, that I would ask. So I would feel bad about that. Typically, you get a nice buzz when you drink wine. Indeed, I recall the buzz of a nice glass or two of red wine. What is the teaching about today? Hello, JPSSA. We are going through Messilat Yesharim. Hello, Alewe. Hello, aloha. Hello, 8254. Hey, how are you? I hope you are having a good day. Messilat Yesharim, indeed. We are at chapter 3. Hello, Mofus. Hello, Justin Union. Hello, Dimit Reho. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Kif halak? How are you? Mashlumcha. The art of calmness. You need to change your username immediately, says Justin Union, because you know nothing about calmness. You're irrational and incoherent, typing the same crap over and over. Well, that's the internet for you, right? But you made a vow as a Nazarite. Yes, I did, Andrew. That's why I stay away from wine. I haven't had anything grape-derived in over 16 years. You seem like a nice Jew. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You seem like a nice username and a viewer, potentially, if you're not a bot. And why would you be? It's a small channel. What's the punishment? The punishment, since there is no court these days, the punishment would be something internal. Now, it can move you to do something, whether it's to atone, if it was intentional, give to charity, if you took it for a set period of time. Well, that's a different story altogether. Free Palestine from the Israelis, you nasty hypocrite. You must misunderstand. The Israelis left Gaza in 2005, and they offered Gaza and the West Bank and parts of and East Jerusalem the Palestinian leadership said no, and terrorist regimes keep on attacking, so they don't want a state, they simply want death. As for being a nasty hypocrite, yes, I suppose there are in many ways in which I am nasty. And I'm sure that I have not escaped 100% the disease of hypocrisy. But to say free Palestine from the Israelis, okay, talk to your Hamas buddies and the other terrorist organizations, Palestinian leadership, tell them to maybe not reject each and every deal that's put on the table. In this way, peace is made. So talk to them, would you? Okay. Every accusation is a confession, says JS. Yes, indeed. I am accused and I confess being on the side of Israel, scrutinizing Israel, and being critical of Israel. It's my home, but I don't blindly follow the government. I don't blindly follow the army. I'm critical of the establishment when I think that it merits it. So nothing that you can say will be able to shake me from my position of Israel fighting a defensive war against a terrorist regime that wants not a state, but death. No more, no less. Are there innocent people who want to live out their lives in peace and prosperity with dignity, raise their kids, have work for a living? Yes. They're not in the leadership. I'm talking about the Palestinian leadership. Okay. What does Messilat Yesharim mean? It means path of the just, or path of the righteous. Although that's tzaddikim, but righteous as in yashar, Yesharim. Could you sum up the whole teaching today in a few words? What was the point? Well, I'll keep going with chapter 3. The point was pay attention. Take heed. Mind your business. Literally, mind your business. Let's continue. Hello, Blocks to Blocks. How you doing? And hello, Ahmed Sahib. How you doing? Okay, continuing chapter 3. He who wants to watch over himself must investigate 2 matters. The first, that he contemplate what is the true good for man to choose, and what is the true evil for him to flee from. The second, on the action which he does, to determine if they are in the category of the good or the evil. So you need to set up the perimeter here. You need to know what it is you're aiming for and what it is that you want to escape from. This can be a very personal thing, and it is a personal thing, regardless of Torah, mitzvahs, halacha, right, rabbinic law. Let's continue. This applies both to times when he is in the act of doing and when not in the act of doing. Right? Being active and being passive, they both have their time and their place. When in the act of doing, that he not do any act without first weighing it on the scales of this understanding. So, okay, there's good and evil. I want to do good. I don't want to do evil. Which one is this? Is this good or is this evil? Hang on a second. Okay. Not in the act of doing, right, in the sense of being passive, that he bring up before himself the remembrance of his deeds in general and weigh them, likewise, in these scales, to determine what they contain of evil, in order to relinquish it, and what of good, in order to perpetuate it and strengthen himself in it. When you're doing something, think about it. What category does it fall into? And when you bring the remembrance of your deeds, contemplate them and think, if something stirs you, if something bugs you, if something irks you, or if people around you say this, that, and you value their opinion and you want to take a look at the things that you're doing, where do they fall into? What's good about them? What's bad about them? If he finds them of the evil, he should then contemplate and investigate, reasoning out a strategy to employ in order to turn away from that evil and cleanse himself of it. In other words, it becomes clear to you. You have as clear as you can do, right? Definition of good and evil and what it is you want to follow, your actions and what they ought to be by your own definition, what they could be. And then contemplate and investigate and come up with a stratagem that would enable you to go for the things that you want to let go of, the things that no longer serve you, the things that no longer strengthen you, and to relinquish it, to let go of it. And the good things, to give them strength. If he finds, our sages of blessed memory taught us in their saying, it would have been preferable for a person had he not been created. But now that he has been created, let him examine pishpush, yefashpesh, his deeds. Others say let him feel out, lemashmesh, his deeds. Hapishpush vehamishmush. See how these two terms are very good and beneficial instructions. In other words, would it have been better if life was not a thing, the way that we know it? Yes. It's tainted with so much awfulness. And it would have been better for us not to be born in some ways. But we are here in a physical body, contending with our physical selves in this world of good and evil, in this post-Edenic world, this great battlefield. And he says, you need to examine your ways and feel out your ways. Lefashpesh velemashmesh. This is a difference of opinion on what the saying is. And they both, it's not a contradictory thing. So he explains. Examining of deeds is to investigate generally one's deeds and inspect them to see whether they contain deeds which one does not do, namely, that are not in line with the commandments of God and his statutes. So here we already go away from the incredibly universal and personal and go to, right, it's a Hebrew rabbi, it's an Orthodox Jew who wrote this book, Rabbi Moshe Lutzato, around 300 years ago, the great Kabbalist, philosopher, playwright, poet, who was banned and persecuted. He had his books burned, ran away to Amsterdam, died at 36 and accomplished a crap load in 36 years. And now we go to the commandments of God and his statutes. So for all intents and purposes, when speaking of this, understand that this is from the perspective of written Torah and oral Torah, meaning halacha, rabbinic law. Feeling out of deeds, on the other hand, is investigation even on the good deeds themselves, to inspect and see if they contain any leaning which is not good or any evil component which he needs to remove and eradicate. Even in the good things, there still could be wickedness and ego and pride or whatever. Cool, you did something good. Take a look at the good thing. Could it be better?
could it be better? This is analogous to feeling out a garment to ascertain whether it is good and strong or weak and frayed. So, too, he should feel out his deeds to ascertain their nature, through an absolutely thorough examination, until they are left pure and clean. So Ramchal, bold of Ramchal to assume that someone like me could do this, but for many other people who might be able to achieve this in an absolute way, are they left pure and clean? Now that's a tall order, but he is putting it on the table. And when it comes to the Torah and the commandments, and once again, this is the lens through which this is viewed and written. It's like, this is your job, this is the covenant, this is your duty, this is your heritage, these are your traditions, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. Are there gray areas? Yes. Look into them too, says Ramchal. Look into the gray area in the white knight deeds that you do. Look in the gray there too. See what you can scrub away even more and strengthen even more. The general principle, says Ramchal, that a man inspects all of his deeds and watch over all of his ways, to not leave for himself any bad habit or bad trait, all the more so any transgression or sin. So bad habits, bad traits, transgressions, sins. Right, so transgression is with intent. Sin is to miss the mark, sometimes without intent. That's basically. Okay, let's go to the chat for a moment. Let's continue. Let's scroll down. So you believe in the dark night of the soul, says KS. I've had a dark night of the soul that lasted 2 weeks in my marriage. With both of us, had a dark night of 2 weeks. It was a very incredible 2 weeks of discovery, which was also terrible and incredible. And this was 8 years into our marriage. My woman and I had 2 weeks of a dark night of the soul. Okay. Let's continue. How many distinct persons, says Diva Don't Play? I like the name, Diva. How many distinct persons called Yahweh are mentioned in Genesis? So first of all, it's not persons. Second of all, the name Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, the Tetragrammaton, that is a name which bespeaks a certain divine attribute. So when you say distinct and when you say persons, that is none of those things. It's more of a distinct divine revelation in the way that the letters are formulated, with that specific punctuation, with that specific melody marking the trup, the te'amim, above it or below it or inside it. It depends. If you're simply speaking of the name Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, and if you are speaking according to, hold on a second. Let's see, Genesis 19:24. Let's go to the JPS Tanakh, verse 24, the JPS Tanakh of 1917, verse 24. Then the Lord caused to rain upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. Yes? I think that that's in Hebrew, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're talking about that specific, how many distinct persons? Yes. I don't understand the question. The name Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, with that specific, hold on a second. The name Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, let's take a look at the Hebrew. Since you want to look at the Hebrew, I think I said it verbatim, but let's see. Yud-Tet, Kaf-Dalet. Here it is. V'Adonai himtir al Sodom ve'al Amorah gofrit va'esh me'et Adonai min hashamayim. Yes. Okay. So it's what I remembered, verbatim. The answer is that it's not a distinct God. This is a distinct divine revelation. The name Yod-Heh Vav-Heh is a certain divine attribute. It's one of the 10 Sfirot, in that specific punctuation. Hold on a moment. Now let's look at it with the Te'amim. With the Te'amim, right, with the melody, we have Revi'i, Etanachta. Okay. So hold on a moment. Okay. In my very basic understanding, it's not two. If it's two of anything, it's two different divine revelations. One which is Vadonai and Me'et Adonai. Now, these are two separate things in the way that they're set up with the melody and the word, the second Lord, Me'et Adonai, connected with the Et. So it's not distinct persons because we're speaking of the divine revelation. The divine is not distinct in the way that we distinct things. Divine is not a person in the way that there are people. The way that God reveals himself in the world is through these names. And the name Adonai bespeaks Tiferet, which is the middle pillar. And it's a name which is of mercy, meaning beauty and harmony, a center pillar between two. This idea of when Adonai had it rain down, Gofrit ve'esh, fire and brimstone, was it? Correct? I remember that correctly. Hold on a moment. Fire and sulfur, I'm sorry, not brimstone. Fire and sulfur, where is it? Oh, it is. Oh, brimstone, yes. Gofrit ve'esh. Okay. So it's not two. The word Adonai is written there twice, that is correct. But it speaks of different divine revelations. It speaks of Va'Adonai himtir al Sdom ve'Amorah with a revi'i, and Me'et Adonai, this place that is, right, what does it say? It says Min HaShamayim, am I correct? Yes, Min HaShamayim. HaShamayim also corresponds with Tiferet. It's this thing that if it was God's judgment doing it, the name would be Elohim. If it was God's judgment doing it, the name would be Aleph Daled Nun Yod Adonai, not Yod Hei Vav Hei. Or it would have been Yod Hei Vav Hei with the punctuation of Elohim. This idea of God judging, but with a name which is a divine name of mercy, of the middle pillar, and not of judgment. This idea that it was Me'et Adonai Min HaShamayim. It's from that place of Tiferet, where the good and bad, the right and left, are made into a kind of synthesis with Tiferet. That's why it corresponds with the belly button and the torso. Not two distinct persons, but two distinct names, or the same name differently connected. And even in a place of judgment, there was a name of mercy there, which can teach you of the nature of what would be considered wickedness or evil in the world. There could be times when your life is full of that fire and brimstone and things go to shit. To know that that verse is there, Va'Adonai himtir al Sdom ve'al Amorah, esh v'gofrit me'et Adonai min hashamayim. This idea of even in judgment, there is that line of mercy, that line of rachamim, that middle pillar. To know what it is to pay attention to when things go to shit. Do you simply say, God is judging me, something went wrong, a past life, this life, I don't know, bad things happen to good people all the time, even right now at this very moment. I don't know the calculations of the divine revelation. I don't know how it's all threaded together throughout the multiverse of multiverses that we all inhabit. But to have that mind frame, that idea of even with Sodom and Gomorrah, who were ra'im v'chata'im la'Adonai me'od, right? They were sinful before God deliberately, knowing their creator, say our sages, and still wanting to piss him off for the sake of inviting more negative energy and negative vibration and forces of darkness into the world. Because some people just want to watch the world burn. even in judgment, even when fire and brimstone are raining all around you and things are awful. Maybe it's your own doing, maybe it's something you didn't see coming, maybe it's this life, maybe a past life. Who's to say? But something happens. Within that fire and brimstone, there is still the name Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. There is still that completion, that beauty, that harmony, despite my inability to see how it all fits in. That verse that says, even when God judged Sodom and Amorah, there was a name of mercy, a name of Rachamim that did it. Not Adonai Aleph Dalet Nun Yod, which is more of the divine feminine presence, the left side, and not Yod Heh Vav Heh with Elohim, which represents the higher feminine, which is not judgment, but from within whom judgment is stirred, or like a mother birthing a baby. Let's continue with Messilat Yesharim. Okay. I see a need for a man to be meticulous and weigh his ways each and every day, like the great merchants who continuously evaluate all of their business matters in order that they not degenerate. You have a business, you want things to run smoothly. They're not going to run smoothly. That's the nature of business and life in general. To be meticulous and weigh his ways each and every day, it needs to be a relentless pursuit. Right? It needs to be a path, a discipline that one acquires. It can be in one moment of a sudden epiphany. It can be over time, different people, different paths, different ways of arriving at this idea of, you know what, I should pay attention to what I'm saying and how I'm behaving and what I'm doing. Just like they do in business. He should fix definite times and hours for this weighing, so that it does not be haphazard, but rather with the greatest regularity, for it yields great results, right? What Rabbi Nachman of Breslev called hitbodedut, seclusion, taking an hour. It can be 5 minutes, it can be an hour, depending on what you can afford and do and handle. An hour, preferably in nature. You're joyful for 23 hours of the day, and during that 1 hour, you alone with yourself and the Most High God. Creation. Then you say, okay, let's sit down, let's evaluate, let's see what is it we're doing good, what is it that we're doing bad, what is it that we want to yell and sing and laugh about, and what is it that we feel we need to do better about, and we feel stuck and we feel in a pit and we feel unable to claw our way out despite our best abilities. That's a very wide spectrum, and it exists with each and every one of us. And so you need the greatest regularity to sit with yourself, ideally quietly, no distractions, ideally in nature, and so on. I have so many memories of being in yeshiva in Tzfat, which is what I acquired hitbodedut in earnest. I've been doing it my whole life, ever since I was a boy. I just didn't know it had that name. I didn't know that's what I was doing. And much like I used to do hitbodedut before I really went to shul, or maybe corresponding with it as a child, and afterwards, not knowing that it had a name, not knowing that simply, so afterwards, even right in yeshiva, oh man, so many. But that's when I started to do it truly each and every day, and I still try to do it each and every day. Okay, it yields great results. You take the time out of your day. Okay, let's take stock. Like one of the 12 steps, right, is to take stock of your, of you. Our sages of blessed memory taught us explicitly the need for this accounting, as they said in Baba Batra. Therefore the rulers said, let us enter into accounting, bo cheshbon. Right, that's from the Torah. Therefore the rulers of their evil inclination said, come and consider the accounting of the world. The loss incurred by doing a mitzvah against the gain earned through it. The loss incurred and the gain obtained by doing a sin against the loss incurred. So the things you do, the things you don't do, how you do them, the good deeds, the bad deeds, the evil, those with the, doing a mitzvah and doing a sin. What is it you win? What is it you lose? Being meticulous. Many times our sages likened it to sifting gold. It's like, is it a process? Is it laborious? Is it, yes. Is it worth it? Yes. Yes. This true counsel could not have been given, nor could its truth be recognized, except by those who had already gone out of the hands of their evil inclination and ruled over it. This true counsel could not have been given, nor could its truth be recognized, except by those who had already gone out. Okay, so he's saying our sages already conquered their evil inclinations, so to speak, to the degree that they did. For one who is still held captive in the prison of his evil inclination, his eyes do not see the truth, and he is incapable of recognizing it. I mean, again, this is very cut and dry according to him, very black and white. I don't see it. I'm much more of a, I don't see things as rigidly and strictly as Ramchal. For the evil inclination literally blinds his eyes. On that we are agreed. He is like one walking in darkness, where there are stumbling blocks before him, but his eyes do not see them. In other words, trust those who have come before you, who have ascended to the proverbial mountain and can have a view of the maze below. And I think he may actually give this same analogy or metaphor or whatever it is later, maybe soon. I'm not sure. I think he might bring up something like it at some point. I might be thinking of a different book. I'm definitely thinking of a book where that's written. If it's this, that'll be a nice, because this is what he's saying now, so that's why it's triggering that. And maybe it's the following lines, I'm not sure. Maybe not. But they are like the people who already had achieved this place of being completely with their good. People who devoted their lives to ridding themselves of their evil inclination, bending that evil inclination to their will, working with it and learning from it in order to motivate them to such a degree that it's like not even there, or if it's there, it's something not along the lines of something in your psyche or a voice, but an actual literal sort of divine messenger, 100% full-on angel, they say. That the evil inclination of the sages, the evil inclination of, of the wise, of the righteous, the higher you are, so to speak, the deeper you go into yourself, the more you will want to align yourself with the good to that degree, like in the laws of physics, right? A counterforce awakens towards your inclination to the good. Now there's this idea of tzaddik, rasha, beinoni. I won't get into it, right? Of the righteous and the wicked and the middleman. The one in the middle, sefer shel beinonim. Let's continue. This is what our sages said, you make darkness and it is night. This refers to the world which is analogous to night, they said in Baba Metzia. So you need to watch your step. You need to know what to look for. You need to know, you need to be able to keep your eyes open in a world that is very much analogous to night. And we are not nocturnal creatures, which means that it's something that you need to acquire, like a skill, like a habit that is good. This isn't necessarily something that happens overnight, maybe for some folk, but usually it's an ongoing process, right? This idea of fixing oneself, it doesn't happen overnight. That's easy come, easy go. Our sages say, Yagata umatzatata amin. Labor in it and find it, and then you can believe it. So that relentless pursuit, it's something that should strengthen you and ennoble you, and it should give you a sense of some contentment, though not complacency. Because a person who is shooting towards this lofty goal, even if they're falling short of the ideal, and we all do in some ways, all the time, to be able to train oneself to become a nocturnal creature, or at least see as good as nocturnal creatures do in the dark, to be able to have a maglite stuck to your forehead. You help to cultivate and create that light. You help to propagate, whatever the word might be, to spread that light. Okay. How wondrous, says Ramchal, is this truthful statement to one who delves deeply to understand it. For behold, the darkness of night causes a man's eyes to err in two ways. It covers the eye so that he cannot see at all what is before him. 2, or it deceives him so that a pillar appears as if it is a man or a man as a pillar. So it's not simply, I can't see. It's, I don't know what I'm seeing. Things are not what they seem. That's a double whammy. So too the material and physicality of this world. Behold, it is darkness of night to the eye of the intellect, and causes him to err on two fronts. First, it prevents him from seeing the stumbling blocks standing in the ways of this world. Thus the simpletons walk confidently, to wit, they fall, and are lost without having felt any prior fear. Just whoops, boing, 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 on my schnoz. I'm bleeding. Get me a wipe. This is what Scripture refers to. The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble. And the clever one foresees the evil and hides himself, but the foolish commits transgression and is punished. Proverbs. Okay. But the fool transgresses. The entire verse. Let's read the entire verse. A wise one fears and departs from evil, but the fool transgresses and feels confident. So again, it's not now. It's another level. Now it's not even not weighing your good and bad. Now it's not even weighing the good things to clean them from the bad things inside of them. Now it's not regret or remorse. Now it's transgressing and being confident. I think that's another level. To feel confidence in that transgression. The fool transgresses and feels confident. This says something about self-worth. This says something about the transgression that comes also with that confidence. In other words, there's a time and a place for confidence. But if you're transgressing and it's already become something of a permissible thing for you, and then in time you grow to feel very confident with it, that's already a kind of step up. Humility is something that can crack through this. Humility is the key to all good positive attributes and personality traits. Humility is that crown of the 10 sefirot. Humility and patience, but two facets of the same thing. The fool transgresses and feels confident, for they feel as secure as an edifice, and they fall before having any knowledge whatsoever of the stumbling block. In other words, they didn't even know it was there. So if they are actually blind, that's one thing. If they are blind because they are willfully blind, that's another thing. And they both may reach the same sort of end of you falling down without even knowing what hit you. The second error, says Ramchal, and this is even worse than the first, is that the darkness distorts their sight until they literally see evil as if it were good, and good as if it were evil. Thus they strengthen in clenching to their evil ways, for not only do they lack the proper vision to see the truth, to perceive the evil right in front of their eyes, but they also see fit to conjure up great proofs and convincing evidences to support their evil logic and false ideas. Now this is something that I, for example, when I decided to step back from being like proper Orthodox, call myself religious, when I decided that I'm going to step away from keeping strict rabbinic law, strict halacha in certain things, in other things I became stricter. But I made my choices in my mid-20s, And I thought for a few years I was soul-searching and thinking to myself, and those who follow the channel would have heard me say this many times. Am I simply shirking responsibility and justifying it with some sort of a nobler path? Am I leaving that which is clear to me I should not leave in order for me to chase some sort of a title, some sort of a noble way? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Is it that I'm seeing good as evil and evil as good, and simply giving more strength and more sustenance to my wicked ways, all the while justifying it with the greatest of what did he say? Great proofs and convincing evidences. Eventually I came to the perhaps false conclusion, but it's still my conclusion nonetheless, that yes, I needed to step away from mainstream Orthodox religion, I needed to step away from certain halachot. This evil logic and false ideas is still something that is on my mind, because I'm not perfect, far from perfect. I'm the lowest of the low. And I still have my evil logic. I still have my false ideas. I know this without a doubt. And so it's still something that actually concerns me, which is also why usually if I do bring great proofs and convincing evidences of something, it would be something that I had given a lot of thought to. Now, does this immediately shield me from any stupidity or evil logic or false ideas? No. But the things I think where I do speak confidently about, when I do, that may be fewer, that may not happen, that may happen too much or not at all, I don't know. Those are not conjured up things, as he said, to conjure up great proofs. I think that's what makes the difference. It's not conjured up. These are things rooted in wisdom and in experience. And while that still doesn't shield you 100% from evil logic and false ideas, because that's like to lean on your own misunderstanding, and el binatcha el tishayen, right? Do not lean on your understanding. That's where we have Adonai, the Most High God. That's like, you know what? I'm doing what I can. I'm paying attention to what I can. There's still things that I'm screwed up in, that I need to shine up and purify and cleanse of the wickedness. And in my good deeds, there's probably still wickedness and ego and pride. But with that help of, right, he who wants to be defiled or he who wants to be impure, they open it before him. He who wants to become pure, he is aided. Doesn't immediately happen, but there's help along the way. And if a person immerses him or herself in these teachings, in the universal and personal sense, not the Torah and the commandments sense, what I was talking more in the beginning of the chapter, it can help you to be able to identify evil logic and false ideas, because you're constantly with a continuous dialogue with yourself and with the Most High God. You're setting aside the time every day. It's something you constantly do. When you acquire the habit of hitbodedut, you don't become 100% impervious to things, but it causes you to pay attention in a really, really methodical way. And if you're paying attention to the right things, you're taking the time to put your heart and your mind into it, right? And your resources, you're able to acquire it. These are things you're able to acquire. And it's most evident, I think, with small things that get to you. Small things that get to you, small things you'd want to change, even in the good. I'll give you a classic example. For a lot of my life, I used to end calls or meetings with bye. Right? I grew up in a bilingual home, saying goodbye, saying bye, or bye with the Israeli accent. And in my, I don't know, before I was 30 at some point, I don't know exactly when, at some point, a good friend of mine, did he mention that? No, it was something else he mentioned. Either way, the point is, I started wanting to say lehitraot, right, which is the Hebrew goodbye, more closer to au revoir, which is see you later, right? I mean, lehitraot, when we next meet. And I got into the habit, slowly but surely, of saying lehitraot. And I've done that with other things in Hebrew as well, where I made an effort, a specific effort to change things, and it happened over time. And with correcting oneself, I would say bye, correct myself to lehitraot, and over time lehitraot took over. Now that's one small stupid example that came to my mind, but I think it's very, very apt. Because it's very, very easy for the person who wants to pay attention to his or her ways. It's very easy to see a goal and immediately expect yourself to stand up and do it and go for it and achieve it and go to the next goal. And some people are like that. And if they can't, that their mind is like that, even if again, their shortcomings won't allow them to do it that easily. The patterns that they are currently in won't allow them to flip a light switch. It's not a light switch, it's a dimmer switch. Right? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and so on and so forth. To a person who practices his bodedut, and to a person who pays attention, and to a person who is able to identify good and evil by their own definitions. Again, going with the universal thing. To not be blind, right? To be confident of the right things. To not conjure up great proofs and convincing evidences to support evil logic and false ideas, which means you'd have to identify those evil logic and false ideas. And to do that, it's training yourself to pay attention, and first of all to the small things. If you go to the big things, you might get discouraged. Something small that you start to implement. And when you see yourself doing it, when you see yourself doing X, you do Y. And over time, to each his own, depending on the nature of the circumstances, the conditions, the habit, I don't know what. But even though Ramchal really paints a picture here that's black and white, so you do it or you don't do it, it's like, God is watching you or not watching you. That's why this is musar. That's why this is something that is meant to move you. Let's go to the chat. Oh wow, I'm already shooting over. I was going to stop at 11. I was going to stop at 12. It's now 12:13. Okay. Okay. Wow. I think we're going to stop here. I'm going to go to the chat, see a few questions. Okay. Oh, wow. Hello, Sid Life. Hey, JS, it's good that you're still here. Hello, Captain Stark. How you doing? I was worried about you. Heard Iran sent missiles to Jerusalem. They send missiles to different areas. Jerusalem, I think, was targeted by Yemen and the Houthis, but not Iran. XX says, why does the world ignore when Israel is attacked, but then the strike back, it's genocide? Palestinians can be charged with the death penalty, says Captain Stark. Sid Life says, I made dua for you? Dua? Hey, Captain. KS, I'm enjoying this. It's relaxing. That's nice. I'm glad you're relaxed. MM says Israel is bad for humanity and peace in the world. Yeah, okay. You're allowed to think. That's just like your opinion, man. Israel is doing plenty of bad things. I concur, and plenty of good things. I'm not sure. Good things and bad things. Don't slander Bibi Netanyahu, says Emma Beer. Hi, Emma. How you doing? When I don't slander him, I'm not going to vote for him. I don't know who I will vote for, mind you, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Do you believe in Jesus Christ, says Sarah. Wow, no one's ever asked me that before. No, Sarah, I believe he is a dead man. He was a righteous man, but then he died. That's where it starts and that's where it ends, basically, for me. Nothing against you personally. I don't know you, but Israel sucks, says Captain Stark. Okay, yeah, again, that's like your opinion, man. Israel does a lot of sucky things and a lot of really great things. What good things? Well, for starters, Israel sometimes sends relief and medical teams where there are things happening that are outside of Israel. Israel is, a lot of medicine and a lot of technology, innovation, industry. Israel, diamonds. They used to be a girl's best friend. I don't know what they are now, but what good things? That simply depends on the lens through which you view reality. If you view reality in the same way that I do by and large, because you probably don't, but generally speaking, Israel is involved demonstrably in many great things. Great in size, great in significance, great in endeavor. So, for you to say what good things, that simply means that you don't appreciate or want to acknowledge the good things. Ergo, no need to make any number for you over here or list. Agricultural sciences, yes, irrigation. Israel, I'm told, is at the forefront of water, and how to use very little water. Agriculture is huge. Feeding mankind, says Chayim in Florida. This is correct. Hey, Philonetic is here. It's the only state in the region with freedom of religion and women's voting rights for one. Yeah. Ora Leah said, I am glad I came across your lives. There is a lot of propaganda about every country, so much hate. It's nice to see regular people sharing their views. It reminds us that the narrative isn't real. It is for some very real, and for others not because they're in a bubble. It's not a question of being less real, but it's simply, again, knowing what to pay attention to and knowing that we are all being engineered to act in a certain way, to speak in a certain way, to behave a certain way, to think certain things, again, to scrutinize. In the same way that Ramchal says you need to scrutinize your deeds, you also need to scrutinize that which is coming at you. Is this serving me? Is it not serving me? Not to say you'll hit things 100% of the time. You probably won't. You're only human. Israel's protest to rape jailed Palestinians. Okay, Captain Stark, I don't think that that's exactly what they were protesting for. I think Torah is by and large against rape, and people in Israel by and large are against rape. I don't know these protests. I didn't see any footage. I don't follow the news. And so I don't know. I don't know what actually happened or did not happen. So, if you're saying that there were Israelis protesting to rape jailed Palestinians, let's grant that proposition and handle that at face value for a bit. I am not one of those Israelis. If you're saying in a civilization sometimes there are piece of shit people, 100% I'm with you. There are real human filth, individual type persons walking around. And if there was indeed a protest to support raping jailed Palestinians, that is not okay. It sounds vile. And I'm going to say I wouldn't want to be at one, watch one on the tube, listen on the radio, stare into the laptop and see that, those pixelated zeros and ones. No, that is a horrible thing to protest for or in advancement of. Terrible. On that we are agreed. What are your thoughts on SpongeBob? So I arrived after SpongeBob, so I missed SpongeBob. All I know is that it's from the creators of Ren and Stimpy, if I'm not mistaken, which I did watch as a kid in the 90s. So my thoughts on SpongeBob are also non-existent, Sewer Man. Love the name, because I don't know SpongeBob. I don't know. I saw one of the movies with my kids, not in the theater, but on at home. But I have no thoughts of him. It seems like a cool cartoon, right? But I haven't seen it. All right. No, I never watched it either. Yeah, so catchy electro music. Never watched it either. Should I say goodbye? On the one hand, I'm enjoying this, and I think we'll stop with Messilat Yesharim for now. Hang on a second. Should I dare and try to make this larger? Whoops. No? Okay, I'll just leave it. Screw it, I'll just leave it. Okay. Oh my god. So on the one hand, I'm enjoying this, and on the other hand, I don't know. Sewerman says, great, thank you, and my name derives from liking underground stuff, hence the name. So do you mean underground stuff as in audio, or do you mean underground stuff like Fight Club? Oh, yeah. Israel, best country in the world, says catchy electro music. In some things, and in other things, it's really not. Sid Life says, a human being can never get off on the suffering on others like Ben-Gvir, demonic. So again, I don't follow politics. All I know is that he's the Minister of Interior Security or something along those lines. Ren and Stimpy are Nazis. Well, I gotta tell you, I didn't see that. I didn't watch it religiously, but I did watch it on a regular basis. And so, America first, good to see you. If I didn't say that before, good to see you again. And second of all, um, Nazis, really? Okay. JS says, the other hand, it makes you look at yourself and you don't like it. The other hand? Ow! Whoever likes Ben-Gvir isn't human, says MM. All right. Hey, I'm curious. I really do not know what he did. I really do not know since I don't follow. Oh, wait, now it's a little cut off. Hang on a second. There. Can I make this larger? Yeah, that's good enough. Whoever is against Zionism will go to hell, says Gabriel 3. Whoever is against Zionism? Okay, I mean, first of all, we have no hell. But that is a bold statement, Gavriel. Tamale gvura. You are full of passion. Whoever is against Zionism will go to hell. Why? You gotta give me why. Why will somebody who is against Zionism go to hell? And what is your definition of hell? I'd love to know. Do you know about the 61% of Israeli men? Do you want to Google it? Okay, let's Google 61% of Israeli men. I hope it doesn't show me 61% of Israeli men. This could be a very long night, swipe, swipe, swipe. The prominent survey indicated that 61% of male respondents in a college poll did not define forced Israeli men. Hang on a second. Is this it? I'm assuming this is it. If AI gives it to me, I'm assuming this is it. Did not define forced sex with an acquaintance as rape. First of all, that is terrible percentages of male respondents. But were these people drunk or high on something, or hell? I mean, what? The findings. You know what? Here, wait. Let's. No, forget that. Hold on a minute. The findings are from Tel Aviv University. 41% of female respondents shared this view. Okay. Well, let's put it. Wait. Let me go back to the chat. Let's put it this way. I'm trying to understand this. Let me wrap my head around this as somebody who was just exposed to this study. I would love to know how many people. I would love to know their age. But even so, I'd want to know, because those are very high, that's a very high percentage. I would want to know, did not define forced sex with an acquaintance as rape. Here's the thing. First of all, consent is necessary. Let's just go with that. Second of all, this is where it's a really gray area in the sense that the male and female correspondence, 41% of females. This means that it had to be phrased in such a way that 41% of females, because the guys, okay, the guys 61%, let's say bishlama, let's say fine. 41% of female respondents shared this same view, which means that 2 out of 5 women did not define forced sex with an acquaintance as rape. This immediately tells me I need to actually read the paper or the study or the survey, because something here does not add up. Something here does not add up at all to me. It doesn't make any sense to me that 61% of male respondents and 41% of female respondents, hang on a second, I'll ask AI to steelman the case. Steelman the case for me, I said. To steelman the case, I'll give you the titles. Conceptual conflation of rape with stranger danger, the semantic misunderstanding of forced, fear of diluting the term. Which means, at least in my very, very simple way, it means that I think they must have phrased it in such a way that they, let's say, you know what, I can't put my finger on it or give you an example, but really, 61%, 3 out of 5 men and 2 out of 5 women did not define forced sex with an acquaintance as rape, which means that they only differentiate between acquaintance and stranger, and that's it. And if she's an acquaintance or if he's an acquaintance, and they show me the slightest inclination, I make a move, and I don't, and I just go for it, and it's not even forced affection or forced intimacy. It's forced sex. That means vaginal, oral, anal, right? That's actual proper sex. Forced sex with an acquaintance is not rape according to 2 out of 5 women and 3 out of 5 men. It's very, very difficult for me to believe that that I don't need to read the paper or the survey. In fact, I'm going to do that, and I want to keep this pinned. Good. I'll read that survey. I want to get into the details of that survey. Okay. Let's continue. He's calling into question this study. No. I don't doubt that those were the actual results. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they fabricated the results. I'm not saying they cheated. I'm not saying that it's not 100% what they said. As far as I know, those sound very high, but that is what the study, that's what the survey found. 100% that's what the survey found. I'm willing to go with that. Yes, it's AI. I'm thinking conceptually speaking, I'm not going to call into question the study. What I'm calling, it's not even into question. It's just saying, if I read the entire thing, start to finish, and then I find something that I want to go further with, that's calling the study into question. No disagreement there. If I simply say, I think I need to read the whole thing, that is not bringing the study into question. That's wanting to read the study. So really, don't put words in my mouth. I did not say that XXRS7XQ. I did not. All I said is I should devote the time to actually read it, because that is awful. It's just awful if that's the case. What country is the survey from? From Tel Aviv University, apparently. FOS NW. You lack proper vision to see the truth. I agree. But I'm trying to live my life in such a way where I'm able to clear the shit out of my eyes and truly look into and out of myself, into who I am and what I'm doing. So, am I blind in some ways? Yes. Is there shit all over these lenses? Yes. But to lack proper vision, maybe temporarily. I'm trying to live my life in such a way that I'll be able to expand my vision, right? And broaden my horizons and the spectrum of my understanding. That's part of why I'm doing this. Mishmish88 says, hey Mishmish, I'm a fan. That's apricot in Hebrew. That's Mishmish. Mishmish. Playing the three monkeys. No, I definitely am not. It's not a question of hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. I'm sorry. Wanting to say this doesn't make sense to me. I want to read the survey start to finish. If you don't grant me at least that, then this is really not worth anything. The least you could give me is that. You bring this survey, which I've never seen before, as some sort of a gotcha, I'm assuming. Not much of a gotcha. I'm not in Tel Aviv and I never went to university. Shocking, I know. Point is, you hit me with this study and I say, let's say it's 100% correct and those findings are correct. I still want to read the whole thing. And you're taking that as, oh, he's playing the three monkeys, oh, he's disregarding it, or oh, he's calling it into question. No, that's me wanting to read it. Isn't this something you would want if you're laying this survey on me and you're saying, here, this is your people, you fuckface, what do you think about that? Then I'd say, okay, can I read it? Isn't that fair? So, if you want to keep calling me out on things that I've never done, by all means do it. It amuses me that you're in my head and in my heart and in my mind, and you know precisely what I'm going to say, what I think, who I support, who I've killed. Let's continue. Unapologetics said, I would guess they might have been asked whether the definition is exhaustive, as the definition should be, and since it doesn't cover its entire extension, they could have legitimately answered no. Exactly. It's all in the way that they phrased the question. Are you an Israelite? Yes, David Tarbo. Yes, I am, David. A Heb, a Shylock, a Schnozhaver, a happy merchant. Why are you trying to leave your wife, says Daniel Vilensky. Hey, Daniel, I am not trying to leave my wife. She's simply asleep. It's already 12:30 a.m. Do Africans suffer from the curse of Ham? Jupiter says. So some Africans say yes, and I've heard this, but though not recently. Do they suffer from the curse of Cham? I would be inclined to say that a cursing and a blessing is always a possibility. But where is it that you are orienting yourself? How is it, to what are you orienting yourself? Where are you guiding yourself to? The places where you want to be are the places where you end up if you put enough effort into it. Not 100% of the time, but it's like if they suffer from a curse of Cham, it might be because they have perpetuated it throughout the generations. Not necessarily because the ancient curse of Cham is just as strong, but because it's something that keeps on happening and history repeats itself. But I have no idea. I know that speaking of slavery, we humans are meant to be free, right? To be free in order to pursue righteousness. Foz says, exactly why people swarm to Western countries. The general population has better values, particularly towards women. Yeah, people want to go to the West. That's where they want to go. Sid Life said he is a true Israelite. Well, again, I don't go for this true, false, fake business. I'm just a simple Israelite, no more, no less. This is my brother chat, found him thanks to YouTube. Hey, Sid Life, appreciate the words and the sentiment. Alex says, my wife by blood is a Sephardic Jew. I am Ashkenazi. We don't practice. Where do you fall in all this discourse? Well, what do you mean? This is on spirituality, religion, faith, self-development, psychology, underarm farts, underleg farts, and whatever you bring to the chat. So where you fall into the discourse is exactly where you jump into, wherever you want. Ask a question, give a statement, say something to the world here on the interwebs, live from Jerusalem. And while Alec thinks of something to say, something witty and smart, no doubt. Not putting you on the spot or anything, Alec, but you gotta deliver. You gotta deliver. I'm gonna say thank you to each and every one of you, those watching now, those watching later. Shout out to the replay crew. These live streams are so much fun, so enlivening, on the road to 10K, and incidentally, I do cherish and love every single interaction, everything in the chat, the lovers, the haters, the spammers, the Nazis, the ones telling me to shave, the ones telling me to kill myself, the ones calling me a killer, calling me fake, saying I have things living in my beard. Oh, so much joy. And, those asking encouraging questions, and those who actually are open to discourse, and those who know that I am simply one dumbass in the Middle East with a cup of tea and a phone. Oh, but what loveliness I can experience right now, in this moment, in my home. People are sound and safe, asleep in their beds, which is not a given. No alarms and no surprises, as Radiohead said. And here I am, such a pretty house and such a pretty garden here on YouTube. Okay. Pressure, Alec. Yeah. I do want to say thank you. I don't take it for granted. You can take time out of your day, out of your night, and you're here with me, and it's, it's just a lot of fun to have this little community of ours, and I do appreciate each and every one of you, the comments and the likes and the subs and the views, and it's all lovely, and I don't take it for granted. There's no such thing as Israel, says Paladin, Morning Star. Oh no! I'm like that dude in Terminal, in the movie Terminal, right, where I have no state now. Palestine is being illegally occupied by religious extremist terrorists. Really, Paladin? Oh no. Anyway. What question you would love... Oh, wait, I'm sorry, did Alec... Nobody response, no vitriol, just curious. Well, let's put it this way. Many things are discussed here in the chat. Occasionally, I'll bring along a tidbit from Torah, written or oral or midrash or something. And this specifically, right here, is the month of June, where I go with a weekly format where tonight, for instance, was Messilat Yesharim LaRamchal. Tomorrow is Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. Wednesday, I walk around Jerusalem. Thursday, I tackle some lost in translation or mistranslated verses. So that's for the month of June. And on Sunday is supposed to be Nazarite Reacts, but last night was a complete disaster, and I could not broadcast. So I just went live like this for 25 minutes, without Messilat Yesharim, of course. Is this study survey accepted by academia peer-reviewed, or is it just the paper of an individual, says Philonetic? Again, all questions I would love to have answers for. Maybe the people in the chat have answers. Let's continue. This guy is from New York. No, I'm not. My parents are, but I'm not. Hey, H.P. Lovecraft is here. Do you think the world is under God's judgment and wrath? I think there is a revelation called judgment. There is a revelation called wrath. And there are times when the world is more exposed to them. There are times when an individual with their misdeeds, their wrongful doings, they invite more of it into creation, widening the spectrum of its influence. I can't help but think things are going to get much worse from now on, and things are already bad enough as it is. Ugh. I don't know what to tell you, man. You know what? Let me try and get rid of Messilat Yesharim. Remove. Now let me try and get this a bit wider. Hang on. Okay. Ugh. Wow, it is 20 minutes before 1 a.m. I should go to sleep. I have work in the morning. Okay. Sid Life says, thank you, bro. You have taught me how to frame, research, and analyze. You are freaking articulate, man. Assuming you might be talking to me, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, Sid Life. Philonetic says to Drucker, well, I didn't see what he wrote, but I'm more pragmatic. We have interests in the region. Israel is our ally and helps us with those interests, and vice versa. That's really plainly how I see it too. Nicole says, is it not amusing to you that random people on the internet think they know you and your story better than you do? Oh, it's very amusing to me. That's partly why I feed the trolls. That's partly why I engage with the haters. Wait, this is not. I wanna. Hang on a sec. No. There, that's better. Okay. I'm not gonna futz with the camera anymore. Jeanette says, LOL, super. Dun, dun, dun. Hi, mate, says Anto. Hope you and your family are safe. Yes, we are. Thank God. JS says, do you think God would give your people such a hard time if he loved you? So again, God does not love, nor does he give, nor does he have a people in the sense of that it's not, right? It's something unknowable. I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. And this has to do with every one of these things, from the name of God to give to love. These are all revelations. Names are revelations. And this idea of giving, of the right hand, right, or of withholding with the left hand, of loving you and rebuking you because of it, which is what he told David, right? He said, like with the king, when one of your line goes out of line, I'm going to come at them. I'm going to remind them with disease. I'm going to remind them with punishments, who they are supposed to be and what it is they are supposed to be doing. But the merit of the covenant between the divine revelation and you, David, will remain unbroken. In the very same way, the covenant of the Hebrew people and in Torah, even though we transgress, even though we get our asses kicked, even though we are exiled and persecuted and butchered, and the covenant remains even when we walk away from it. This has been iterated in the prophets many a time. We are like the wayward woman who went astray, but then immediately after she saw that, she was like, oh man, it's rough out there. I'll go back to him, and I'll do him right. Hey, in the chat, super chat, keep safe, mate. You abs, your wife, and kids. My abs? You and your wife and kids. Thank you, Anto, and to you and yours, blessings from Jerusalem. All right, let us continue. What age do you stop talking to imaginary people, says Rush Life Game. Some people don't stop ever. And I don't imagine a person, right? So I don't know if what I do when I pray counts to you as imaginary people. I don't think God can inhabit my imagination, nor do I think God is a person. So, you know. No, God never gave you land in the Middle East, says J.S. Okay, what about the historical and archaeological evidence documented not by Israelis or Jews or Zios, but about so many others around us? But okay, whatever you say, it's all good. Adilav, good to see you again. Whoops. Will you go back to the way you were when you get older, Heed? Which way that I was? You mean being like a proper, modern, Orthodox, strict halacha-keeping Jew? Is that what you mean when you say that? I'm not sure. I don't know what will happen when I get older. I hope to find out. I would love to find out. It would be great to be able to grow older and face that in time. Let's continue. Another super chat came in. User said, "This is my first super chat. This open discourse format with someone from Israel instead people speaking about Israel is super refreshing. Keep on." Thanks, man. I appreciate that. All your contributions, 100% of them after YouTube takes their cut. 100% of your contributions go to charity. I'm very transparent about this. I give you my analytics, my bank account. I give you my, the receipts from the organizations I give to locally here in Jerusalem. And this week, I was supposed to do it yesterday or today, but the missiles in Iran and the whole thing, I'm supposed to give money. I still haven't decided. I'm going to go back to the community post that I posted in where do you think I should give this to? You good people in April raised over $550. You're amazing. And I still haven't decided where it's going to go. I wanted to keep the post up for about 10 days so people could, chime in and give their 2 cents, which they did. So I'm going to revisit that post. And if you want to influence, not like in a poll, but in like open my mind to different organizations here in Jerusalem that serve East and West Jerusalem alike, right? Not a specific religious thing, not just Jews, not just religious Jews, whoever needs may come, that sort of organization, charity organization. I've given, you can see in my community tab, the organizations that I gave to in the past couple of times that I received a payment from YouTube, and let's keep going. So yes, your money, after YouTube takes its cut, goes 100% to an organization here in Jerusalem, a charitable organization. Let's continue. Where is your menorah, says Lilu. I mean, it's right here, the one that I usually light. Oh, you may be able to see it. Well, either way, it's over there. Orthodox means you don't have to serve in the military. Do you think this is acceptable? False. Orthodox simply means rabbinic, who sticks to the rabbinic teachings. There are those who call themselves Haredi or ultra-Orthodox, some of whom say they don't have to serve in the military. A, it's unacceptable by any measure. B, they liken themselves to the tribe of Levi. And I am traditionally of the tribe of Levi, and yet I know that when there is a threat to the existential existence of Israel, right? The existential, if there's a threat of annihilation, you gather, right? Even if you're about to get married and go and defend. So no, it's unacceptable. Should there be a group of people studying Torah who are exempt? Well, unequivocally, yes. Absolutely yes. Torah is amazing. Torah is a wonder. Torah is a shield. Torah is a way. Torah is the life. Torah is the tree of life. The necessity of Torah is, for me personally, just on a personal level, there's no debate there. Torah is necessary. So is defending oneself. Have you kissed the wall, says young Pope? Not in many, many years. I don't go much to the Western Wall because I have a love-hate relationship with the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, Kotel Ma'aravi. Because on the one hand, I understand it's very sacred. I grew up in Jerusalem. I know. But it reminds me of what was there and what might still be there, God willing, if we get our act together. It reminds me also of the reasons why we only have the western side of the external wall that went around the Temple Mount and not a temple. It aches me to go there. It does. So I don't go. Are you still going to the gym? Yes, I am going to the gym. JS says, you say God doesn't give or love. Then in the same breath, you say he loved your people and made a covenant with them for free real estate. No, what I said was that God is not the giving or the loving or the covenant. That we have a divine revelation that is being revealed to us. I don't know what to call it, right? God comes in many forms, shapes, sizes, and it's not God. It's all divine revelation. I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. All I know is how I, in my own stupid life, perceive the divine revelation. I'm a creation. If I can conceptualize it, if I can relate to it, if I can speak of it, if I can feel it, if I can somehow grasp it, physically or metaphysically or spiritually, it's immediately not the creator. but only a facet, a revelation, emanation of the Creator, the clothing, the garments in which he is clothed, so I would be able to perceive and not go blind. In the very same way that a person cannot look directly into the sun without being damaged. And you need filters, you need sunglasses, you need the darkness. You need the darkness to save you from blindness. You need to make things a little darker so you'll be able to withstand the great light. In the very same way, that disappearance of light, which seems like wickedness and punishment, that's where the name of Yod He Vav He shines in a way that usually could not, just like with an eclipse. And as for, let's read it again, I'm sorry. As for the covenant in real estate, our forefathers and patriarchs were men and women of virtue, and matriarchs were men and women of virtue. And through their deeds and through their detachment from the world and pursuing of Torah and its commandments, even before Sinai, right, even before the Torah was given to the children of Israel, I'm talking about the fathers and mothers, as it were, right? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rivka, they devoted their lives to attain this divine revelation of higher awareness, higher consciousness, through their doings, through their dealings, here in this life, in the nasty, stanky funk of this life, thousands of years ago, if we're talking traditionally speaking. Abraham was born in 1948 of the Hebrews, not of the Hebrew calendar. We are now at 5,786. You can do the math. I'm not doing that on live. I'm just going to embarrass myself. So when I say God is not giving, God is not loving, there is a revelation of giving, a revelation of loving. It puts that burden on us to merit that revelation to come in, that revelation of love and of grace, not of judgment and not of suffering. And this is this world. It has both. We are in a world post-Edenic knowledge of good and evil world. So when I say that the divine, right, that there was a covenant, I'm saying this unidentifiable, unknowable, unthinkable, inconceivable thing that I call God, the way that I traditionally view it, there was a revelation that made contact with the Hebrews in the very same way that it earlier made contact with humanity. And there was an elevation of reality in that moment at Sinai. They were able to take on something at that moment when they stood at the foot of the mountain, in that revelation for the entire people. There was something there that was unique in all creation, with Moses, who is unique in all creation, father of all prophets, even though they came before and after him. So when I say a revelation, like Sinai, like loving, like giving, it means that no, God has no hand with which to give, nor heart or mind with which to love and appreciate. I only use these terms to convey something of a spiritual idea. You can say it's horseshit. You can say it's all a grand manipulation. You can say it's just me twisting and perverting scripture and text to fit some sort of sinister agenda. You can say I make no sense. That's fine. God, this unknowable thing that the mind cannot touch, nor the thinnest and most precise and pristine of intellects perceive. It made contact. Somehow, it made contact in Eden. It made contact on Sinai. And a covenant was made there, and subsequent covenants, before and after, right? Previous and subsequent covenants. These people, the mothers and fathers, these people, the nation of Israel in the wilderness, they gave us this heritage of the world is revealed a little differently nowadays in the world. But here's what happened, and here's how it went down. And there was something that happened in reality, in creation, to our people, to all humanity, but then more closely to Israel. A connection was made with something unknowable. Something was perceived. So despite God having no hand, something was given. despite God having no heart or no brain or mind or psyche, there is something we would call love. That idea, the notion, the will, the desire for things to thrive and bloom. This is the primary way in which God reveals himself in the world, even if we don't perceive it as such. Let's continue. But I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry, who was it? It was not MM. Oh, what was the name? Now the chat jumped. Hang on, I'm going to try and... Sulhan says Orthodox doesn't actually necessarily mean rabbinic. No, it means orthodoxy means straight path. If I'm not mistaken, that's literally what it means. But that they do their best to follow what they believe in halakha. But it's not rabbinic, though they call their teachers rabbis. Well, it's not rabbinic in the sense that right now we have no proper smicha. We have no proper laying of the hands that disappeared at the time of Rome and the Second Temple. In that sense, you are correct. But it is rabbinic Judaism in the sense that orthodoxia, that's simply something that came about after, right? Calling it orthodoxy is, I think, a response to the conservative and reform and other types of Judaism that reared their head a few hundred years ago. Or maybe it's older than that, but that's the term, and that's what it means in Latin, if I'm not mistaken, right? Straight path. As for not being rabbinic, I think by and large you would find that people equate Orthodox Judaism with rabbinic Judaism more often than not. But that's cool. You can say that it's simply the way that they call their teachers, but it's not it. As for what they believe in halacha, if you go in an Orthodox way, you have a posek, right? You have somebody who rules for you, a rabbi or whatever the case may be. When you have things that you don't know, the halachas you haven't studied, conundrums and problems and things, go talk to your rabbi. James Bong says, spreading Torah across the globe. Yeah, man, Torah is something unbelievable. Why was I kicked out? I don't know, Sid Life. No, I didn't kick you out. Let's continue. 100% on God's revelation versus knowing God. Only one can only know oneself and creation before the presence of the Creator, as the Greek texts say, in spirit and in truth. One can only know oneself and creation before the presence of the Creator. Philonetic says if there's no God, then we're not created, and it's fine for men to own men. In defense of slavery without a God? Not necessarily, though that is the way that it went down. Sid Life said God is all-knowing, but blamed Lucifer for BS as part of the creation. So the whole Luciferian thing, I don't know what that's about. That's more of a Christian thing. So I don't know what to say about that. Hey, David is here. Hello, sir. Hope you're well. I am well. I hope you're well too, David. Let's scroll down in the chat. Mike says, thank you, wonderful human, for opening my mind. I'm not sure if you're talking to me or not, but hi, Mike. Hello, good to see you again. AA said, is it too late for someone in their early 40s to become Jewish? No, age has absolutely nothing to do with it. If you are called towards the Hebrew faith, then take a step to walk the Hebrew path. And should you decide, if you delve into it, that it's not for you, don't convert. It's something that you should do only if you're called to it truly, because it's a bond for life. It's a covenant for life. There's no getting out of it alive. No matter what sect of Judaism, Elohim Kodim. What does Kodim mean? Kodim means codes, though that's Kodim. It's Sfanim in Hebrew, but codes. Maybe you mean Kodem, as in more ancient and previous? Wait a minute, I don't like the way that I'm... no, I said I'll not futz with the camera. There's that space. Never mind. Who cares about the camera? Let's do this. I'm looking at myself. Oh, I'm too zoomed in. Screw you. Not you, me. Okay. Makes no sense. I know God but disagree with him. I'm not sure what you mean. You know God but disagree with him. Why create and then punish? Well, again, A, it's a question of thinking punishment versus reward, and if that should be even what you consider. B, we live in a world of good and evil. You could say that it's just a cop-out. Oh yes, it's just God punishing you, when in fact it's nothing of the sort, but it's something for you to take comfort in, so it's the opiate of the masses. Let's leave that aside right now. That's like a granted that people could say that could be it. Why would a God so benevolent, ba 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 ba. But again, what Ramak says with the food, right? What Ramak says with the food, right? You take something that's completely edible and you eat the whole thing, and yet inside it separates, right, into the nourishing and sustaining elements that go into your being and your physical self, and the things that you push out, like your urine and your excrement. And so, does that mean, right, even though both of those things were created inside, they have one source, which is 100% edible? And so you could say, how could it be one thing but then split into two? Because it moves. It moves to a place of discernment. It moves to the gut and all of its acids, and things are ripped apart there on a molecular level, right? And everything goes where it's supposed to go, ideally, right? And for us to reach homeostasis, balance. In the very same way, what seems here as punishment is pushing out that which no longer, right? It's burning off that bad karma. It's getting rid of that which no longer serves you. Which is why I started this by saying depending on how you view reward and punishment as such. So why create and then punish? Simply speaking, because you were created for a reason. You were created for a purpose. You have your own unique job to do, each and every one of you. You have the image of God in which you were created, that you are responsible, let's say, for bringing into the world and for giving your gift to the world, as David Data said, in the way of the superior man. It's a burden that we carry as human beings. We are stewards and caretakers of this planet. We are that jewel of creation. We are that image of God, a walking, talking, breathing, farting image of God. And it's on us to be more than what we are. It's on us to elevate ourselves and the world around us in order to reach Eden and partake by meriting it, partaking the fruit of the tree of life. Why create and then punish? Sometimes because the punishment simply happens because of the nature of the world, its chaotic element, and the randomness involved in living in a world of good and evil. That's axiomatic. Bad things happen to good people. We don't know the calculations of the Most High. We don't know how to divine such things. We can say, oh, well, that happens. And it sucks when that happens, but it happens. That's the nature of this world. There's a highly chaotic and unstable element to this world. But punish when it's something that you can discern. Punish when it's something like the Ramchal says. Why am I being punished? What can I be doing better? Because even though it not may be my fault, it's my responsibility to try and get myself out of it. And take faith and take courage and take comfort in the good things that are going on, silver linings, to be more gracious and to have more gratitude. Now, is it always the case that you're doing something that's bad, that's wrong, that would merit whatever it is you're going through? No, that has to probably do with that chaotic and random element. Is it for the best? Yes, because if that feces stays inside of your lower colon, eventually you can become infected, right? You can become infected and you die. You need to be pushing the crap out. You need to get rid of it. The body needs to get it out in order for balance to be maintained and strengthened. You need to go to the bathroom. You got to go to that spiritual bathroom. So why create and then punish? Because punishment is like, oh, something's happening, gotta go. Oh, what? No toilet paper. See, it makes you move to the bathroom when you feel something happening. And some people, when they're punished, they take stock because they understand maybe it's just me seeing it as punishment. Maybe it's actual punishment. Maybe it's something that seems like a punishment now, right? There's the great story of Rabbi Akiva at the time when the Romans were there in Israel. And he had a candle, and he had a rooster, and he had another animal. I forgot what it was, but let's say a dog. It wasn't a dog, but let's say a dog. A donkey. It was a donkey. I think it was a donkey. Right, a rooster and a donkey and a candle. Fire. Wind came and blew out his candle. His donkey and his chicken were killed. He was like, everything that happens, it's for the best. Everything that the merciful one does is for the best. In the morning, he found that a troop of Romans were combing the forest, Had the rooster crowed, or had the donkey brayed, or had the candle be lit, he would have been discovered. There are things that happen to us, and in the moment they seem so unjust, so frickin' random. Why me? And you discover, once again, you feel free to call it a cop-out, but in some things you discover retroactively just how lucky and blessed you were to have your light put out and your donkey and your rooster killed. Or something like that. It might not have been a donkey and a rooster. It's been a while since I read it. Not that long a while. I should remember it, but it is 1 a.m. here in Jerusalem. I'm loving this. Should I continue? People in the chat, should I continue? Let's continue. Shaul says you are an Epicurus, agreed. A Rasha, agreed. Totally twisted, agreed. You live your life however it suits you. Soft agree. Nothing to do with being Jewish, false. Rasha you are, agreed. You are twisting people, false. I do not twist people. I am a student. I am a learner. I am not a master, not a teacher, not a preacher, not a rabbi. I never claim to be. I never say that I am. Nothing. I'm just one simple dumbass in the Middle East with a phone and a cup of tea. A cup of very cold tea. So, oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading the translation, but he wrote it in Hebrew, or just that in Hebrew? Okay. Yes, da, right? Da את אלוהי אביך ועבדהו. Da לפני מי אתה עתיד ליתן דין וחשבון. That's the thing. Okay, Shul, hold on a second. Sholomer Langer. Hello, I don't think it's your first time here. Please tell me how I am an Epicurus, how I am a Rasha, how I am twisted. I mean, I agreed. I just want to know what you think about it. Yup, you're no Epicurus, you're no Rasha, says Sulhan. Okay. You have work tomorrow, says XS. I'd like you to continue, but if you want to take care of yourself. No, I'd like to keep going. Orb, hey Orb. My friend Baruch calls me Baal Tshuva because I was not bar mitzvahed but felt called to explore my Judaism later in life. Well, Baal Tshuva is somebody who returns. That can happen at any age, under any circumstance. I feel psychedelics are the reason I returned to Judaism, says Orb. Hey, you know what? Psychedelics can open your mind. They can just open the door. It's on you to integrate, right? And if you did good integration work, and it opened up your mind and you felt called to Judaism, cool. Thing is, as I say always, don't count on anything external. The bulk of one's psychedelic experiences should be coming from the inside out, not from the outside in. But if you want to supplement from the outside in, and and you want to do that, do it. Good Malachi says, Jimmy the Jew. Hey, Jimmy the Jew. The Bible aside, Jews have lived in Canaan since the Natufians in the Old Stone Age. I hope I could speak Hebrew as good as you do, says AA. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Wojo says, we all know you are no teacher. Thank you. It's a good thing that you know. They are lying. You teach and elevate, bro. For those who are logical, no, but I don't seek to. I'm just having conversations with people. Sulan says, by the way, you're correct about the animals with Rabbi Akiva, but he wasn't in a cave. No, I didn't say a cave. Did I say a cave? I'm sorry. He was in a forest. I think I said forest. Okay. Jaya says, have you considered that God makes himself known to the practitioners of the other religions and cults and chose to obscure himself from your people? Yes, this is written in Torah. Of course, that this is written in Torah. I will hide the hiding of my face. Drugs are sometimes a path to occultism. I agree. Any psychoactive substance can be a path to many things. What's your proclivity? What is your genetic history? What is it that you are drawn to? And are you walking into a trap? I think Baba Ramdas had great points on psychedelics that they show you what there is to explore. If you rely on them as a vehicle for exploration, you sell yourself short. Exactly. I'm 100%. It's on you to integrate. They can only open the door. Keep up the good work. I am off to watching Love on the Spectrum on Netflix. Enjoy, Sid Life. Enjoy. Wojo says, no, I'm no Jew, but I like your personality, so I sometimes watch the stream. Hey, man, I appreciate it. It's not only for Jews, right? It's just for talking. All Jews are supposedly Jews by the blood. That is false. We have converts. But you can decide to define yourself differently. That means you choose to stay Jews. My question is, what makes you decide to stay Jews? To each his own. I decided Selar Maurician or Mauricane 2933. I can't speak for all Jews. I can only speak for me. I, in my early teens, investigated why I am the way I am. I grew up religious in Jerusalem, but I had to ask questions, and I've been questioning ever since. And I received some serious answers, and I've tried to incorporate those answers into my life. I chose to stay Jewish because I saw, partly because I was indoctrinated into the Orthodox Jewish religion, of course, and it was my environment and my home and my root, and it still is. But I decided to stay Jewish because I found over time that I have no more questions regarding the Creator. I have no more questions regarding the Creator, and it was the Torah that allowed me to explore that. It was the Torah that still guides me. It's the Torah that still and the commandments therein that still seek to straighten my path, even though I am an epikoros and a rasha. I do transgress, I do sin, I am fallen. What makes me decide to stay Jewish is that this covenant that I am a part of is something that I see as true on a human level, not on a Jewish Hebrew religious level. I see the teachings of the Torah reaching all the way back to Eden. I see the lore of our sages reaching all the way back to Eden. I see the commandments, and I see all of the stories and the prophets, all of it with its roots in Eden. And that is why I decided and decide every day to stay Jewish, personally, but I can't speak for anyone else. 10K users start implementing live call Jewish nighttime show. Hey user, I honestly don't know. I don't know. Because live call, maybe. When we did it with video and microphone, it was not good. It degenerated quickly to name calling and mudslinging, and it was no good. Do you wear a kippah? No, I do not. I wore a kippah until my mid-30s. The Nazarite hair. I felt that the kippah is something that I should not wear, and the same thing with tefillin. So no, I do not wear a kippah. I do not wear anything religious on my head, unless, of course, I go to a shul, and I put the prayer shawl on it, which is two things. A, I'm not vegan in that moment because the prayer shawl has wool, and B, I put something over the crown of my Nazarite chip, which is something I usually don't do, but for the sake of just keeping the peace, and when you're in a place, do the best to adapt to their custom. And so yes, I put on the talit and I put it over my head. So yeah. Orb says, I decided not to tell people I was a Jew earlier in life because I didn't have access to a Jewish community, and I thought faith was uncool. It was my ego. Faith and religious people, not the faith necessarily, but the religious people, sometimes they suck, just like the rest of us, and sometimes they make it look so uncool that you just want to go, stay the hell away from that. Thanks a bunch. And ego also plays a part. But the ego has its benefits. The ego truly has its positive drives, if those are the ones you choose to cultivate. Okay, Judaism is monotheistic, says Wojo. Thank you. Oh, yeah, and he said thank you. Okay, cool. You don't accept Jesus? No, K-Sauce. Jesus is a dead man. I accept that maybe he lived, and maybe he died, and maybe he was resurrected, and maybe he ascended. That's where it ends for me. JS says you can be godly without the Semite LARP. Your religion isn't about worshiping God, it's about worshiping yourselves. How do you figure that when more than half of the commandments in the Torah have literally directly to do with ritual worship in the tabernacle and the temple? What? That's not true. That's not true on so many levels. But as for worshiping yourselves, you should care enough about yourself to want to have a good life and to present yourself with the best life possible. If that is self-worship, then yes, there is a modicum of self-worship, because you're not supposed to think you're a doormat, and you're not supposed to just let life happen. You need to take action. It might be very concise wu-wei sort of action, and then immediately go back to inaction, but you need to make shit happen. So if it's worshiping yourselves, A, how do you see that actually in the numbers of the commandments in the way they're carried out? B, now without the temple, where do you see that in everyday Jewish life or in halacha, that it's not worshiping God, but worshiping yourself? B, define what you mean by worship God, because it's a give and take. We worship and there's divine revelation coming down, right? There's a give and take here with the divine revelation. Okay. Vegan means no wearing wool. I guess it's very Essene like. Yeah, the Nazarites and the Essenes had a similar thing a little bit. They wore linen when serving. When warring, they wore silk. So yeah, no animal. Vegan means nothing made of animals, which means that I don't wear down, or cover myself in down, silk, fur, other things. User says, why do you think Israel seems to be one of the latest countries where marriage and childbearing is not a problem, like in the majority of the rest of the world? So yeah, it seems Israel has managed to stay pretty well with like 3 per woman, with the ultra-Orthodox and the Muslims bringing in between 4 and 8, or 5 and 8 on average. I'm not sure what the average is now, or 4. I think it's 4, taking it all. The average, not the median, the average. 3 for by and large, and 4 for the religious communities, Muslim and ultra-Orthodox, and Muslim and Jewish. I think that Israel values kids. I think that Israel loves kids. I think that for many different reasons, religious, cultural, historical, Israel is very, very family-oriented. And it's an amazing thing to live in a country where there's so many kids all the time. It's such a blessing. It's so wonderful to see these little puppies all over the place. And marriage and childbearing is not a problem because we are also a conservative society. We are a religious, it's a Jewish democratic state. Parts of it are more Jewish, parts of it are more democratic, parts of it are more state-like, and parts of it are not. But basically, we value kids. We love kids. Those little pishers. Great answer, says Silar Moikane. You understand it well, thank you. Ciel means sky in French. Pronunciation Ciel Armoricaine or Armocaine. Okay. So CL, gotcha. Vegan means no animal products at all. That's correct. That is correct. Our prophet Mo, says Dean Salvatore. Our prophet Mo, like everyone, not dogs. Like everyone, not dogs? Not sure what you mean, but okay. Adilov, I feel like the end is coming soon for you Monday pro-Jewish rant and rave. Good night, Heeb. Good night, good night. Is the end coming soon because I'm looking tired? Is that it? Am I looking tired? Why can you not get a DNA test? You can get a DNA test. It's legal in Israel. It's simply regulated. So you can get a DNA test. Let's see. Wojo says, unfortunately, government of Israel, like many governments, does some fucked up stuff. I agree. They do some very benevolent things and some fucked up things. That's true. That is true. Okay. Should I say goodbye? Just a few more minutes, and then we'll say. Just a few more minutes. I want to keep going a little bit, even though now I'm feeling a tired wave enter my brain. It's 1:15 a.m. here. Let's see. You can check your ancestry in Israel for fun, DB says. I don't know. Like I said, it's regulated. I've never investigated the matter. I have no idea under what circumstances it's allowed or prohibited. I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's very heavily regulated. Maybe it's more liberally regulated. I do not know. I do know that you can get a DNA test. And my ancestry means absolutely nothing to me. If I converted even just this morning and lived for 43 years as a European Gentile, a Christian in Europe, and this morning I decided, I'm going to do it, and I converted, and I caught a plane to my buddy's house in Jerusalem, and here I am. Even if it happened just hours ago, I'm 100% Jewish, 100% fused to the tribes of Israel. Dean says we love Jewish people. Thanks, man. We appreciate the love. Thank you for information on Israel, says DB. T-Bone says difference between Christianity and Judaism. What is it? Are you asking what the difference is, or are you saying this is the difference and not giving it? Or are you responding to something someone said before and you're saying, yes, that is the difference? Which one is it? Give me some more. Because you are not Semites, well, that has literally nothing to do with anything. If you fuse yourself to the tribes of Israel, you're an Israelite. Why Jews and not Muslims? Well, I will investigate Islam when there's justice and peace in the region, and until then I stay away from the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad. When there is justice and peace, when there is de-radicalization of both sides, I will gladly open up the Quran, I will read the Hadith, I'll check out the Chronicles of Muhammad, and then we will see. User, can you not become a Jew only by genetic testing? No, you convert. And not free will like Christianity or Islam? No, you become a Jew by being born to a Jewish mother, halachically speaking, born to a Jewish father in the times before of Ezra the scribe and after the exile of Babylon, and if you convert. Now, you can argue over the nature of the conversion, Orthodox, Reconstructionist, Reform, Conservative, I don't know. There are many denominations. Sulhan says what Hebrew Nazarite is explaining is the true grafting in versus what Paul teaches in Romans. So I don't know. I don't remember. I read Romans once. What does he teach there? I'm curious. Lenka says, be blessed, all Jewish, all Israel. God love you so much. We love you so much. Thank you. I appreciate the kind sentiment and the positive vibration. Truly. Naif. Kif Khalek. Hi, man from Syria. Shalom, shalom. How you doing? Salam alaikum. Fear Allahu Akbar, brother. You never know what's going to explode. Oh, I agree. I do never know. Why, my head might explode in a few seconds. Nope, not this time. It's okay. Maybe at some point it'll happen. Do you believe Jesus was a Jew who was reforming the church? No, I don't think there was a church. I think that he wasn't reforming either. I think he had a path that was a Hebrew path. I think that he was at odds with some of the sages and some of the Pharisees at the time, and I think that he was a soul rebel, right? That he had his reasons. He did not seek reformation. He sought execution of the Torah. He wanted to carry it out. There were many problems at the time of the Second Temple, and that's why it burned down eventually. It's those problems is part of what Yeshua in the gospel is seeking to sort of bring into the fold and say, hey, pay attention. Pick things up. You have a responsibility. He spoke in parables to the people, something which I loved. I only read the New Testament once. I'm not a follower of Jesus. I'm not a Christian. I'm a Hebrew man, right? But as a Hebrew man reading the supposedly, right, the other words of that Hebrew man in the gospel. That's why I loved the gospel so much, and I didn't really like Acts or Letters or Revelation or any of the other books. Vote bro for president, says Ahmed. Which bro? But I thought conversion is frowned upon in Israel. No, it's not frowned upon. It's not frowned upon in the least. We simply, first of all, you can convert someone in a day. It's now a very lengthy process drawn out for many years when you do it with an Orthodox rabbinate and an Orthodox court, a Beit Din. It takes some years, but you can do it in a day. Traditionally speaking, it can be done in one day. And the conversion to Judaism. Wait, what was the question precisely? Hang on a second. Damn, now I lost it. But anyway. Conversion is not something that's frowned upon. It's something where we turn people away sometimes, a few times, because we want to know that they're genuine. Why? Because this is a covenant for life. This is you fusing yourself to the tribes. This is you shackling yourself to the divine revelation and saying, let's do this. I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm a Hebrew now. Paul says, well said, I like your answer. Well, I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but look, these are not answers per se, because what's answers? I address things that come up in the chat. And sometimes I do, give answers, I suppose, but usually not. Wait, why did you prefer the gospel? I liked the gospel because it simply spoke, right? There was no, I simply liked it, right? I liked the story. Let's continue. AA says, is it possible to have a serious relationship with a Jewish person while being an atheist myself? It depends on the nature of the relationship. I have no idea. You mean a romantic relationship? It depends on that person's degree of being religious or not, right? They can be Jewish, but not want to be religious. So there you go. I can't convert, says Dean. Why can you not convert? Everybody can convert except for male Moabites and male Ammonites. And since we do not know the nations of Moab and Ammon nowadays, everybody can be Jewish. The thing is, we don't seek to turn everybody into Jews. Not everybody should be following Torah. That's why we turn away people who want to convert at first, at least in some cases. They want to know that you're sincere, you're genuine, because this is being all in. All in. Good Malachi says, what is the classifying factor that confirms conversion to Judaism? The mikveh. I mean, and circumcision if you're not circumcised and you're a male. I would say the mikveh. That's the factor. Now, you need to have your heart and your mind into it. A mikveh means a ritual pool. It can be the ocean. It can be a proper mikveh, a built mikveh. It could be a river. The point is, when you walk into that water and immerse yourself in it completely naked, you are reborn, like from the womb. And when you break the surface of that water, if you had witnesses, ideally a court, and you had, in that water and before it, committed yourself for life to keep the Torah and its commandments, to forsake all pagan gods and pagan ways and worship the one Hebrew God in the Hebrew path, right? Walk the Hebrew path. You are at that moment a righteous convert. You are at that moment become someone new. That's why you receive a new name or choose a new name when you are converted to the Hebrew faith. The name bespeaks this kind of essence, and you are here to live up to a new sort of path. And so a new kind of essence, or a supplementary essence, that bespeaks something to do with your purpose in the world, is given to you. So what confirms conversion? The mikveh. That's what confirms the conversion, technically speaking. And if you're talking about Orthodox rabbinic conversion, like I said, it takes years. You need to live it in a while. You need to live, not perform all the commandments, but you need to immerse yourself in the teachings and the prayers and the lore, and you need to visit synagogue, and you need to live for a time, at least for some period of time, ideally with a Torah observing, religious, rabbinic, Orthodox family. Keep all the holidays, keep all the festivals, keep the Shabbos, according to rabbinic law, halacha. Not you, but you to be there, you to observe there, you to sort of take it on. You can only start keeping certain things once you are converted. But I don't know, I've never converted anyone, and I'm not a dayan, I'm not a ruler, I'm not a posek, I'm not a rabbi, right, or somebody who is in the rabbinic court. So I have no idea how it actually goes down. But conceptually speaking, it can be done even right here, right now. Of course, Jerusalem has no sea, but we do have a mikveh not far from here. It's probably closed right now, but I digress. Let's continue. Scrolling down in the chat. Solomon Israel says, man, I want to be a Karaite Nazir, but Israel doesn't recognize converts through Karaite. What do you mean? The Karaites are Jews. The Karaites are proper Jews. The Rabbanut, wasn't it very clear on this? Wasn't the Rabbanut Rashid, the chief rabbinate of Israel? Didn't they say, yes, they are Jews? What does that mean? You can take a vow of Nazir if you're not any kind of anything. If you're a man or woman of the Hebrew tribes, you're allowed to take a vow of a Nazarite. That's what it says. Though Karaite, which is the oldest sect of Judaism, so I have to go through Orthodox conversion so I can live in Israel. Live in Israel. But why? I actually, you know what? This is news to me, and I'd love to know more, because maybe my software is probably outdated, right? And I don't know what's going on. Last I heard, the chief rabbinate agreed and recognized legally and for whatever, that the Karaite Jews are 100% Jews. When was this not a thing? When did this not become a thing? Karaites are descendants of Beit Shammai. Of course, they are Jews. I mean, it makes no sense that Karaites who don't accept rabbinic tradition came from such a prominent rabbinic house, right, of Shammai. But maybe I'm misunderstanding you. Jews have water immersion rituals. Yes, the mikveh. Women do it to cleanse themselves from menstruation and that whole cycle business. Men do it in order to purify themselves from, let's say, semen ejaculation of whatever kind. If they want to remain pure, more pure physically, not that it makes you dirty. Being ritually pure or impure is not about being physically dirty, right, or mentally unclean. It's literally about ritual cleanliness, right? Ritual cleanliness. Let's continue. So water immersion rituals for a gil, a convert, they go into a mikveh, right? Men and women. A person who simply wants to be more pure, right, and guide him or herself in a better way. People go to the mikveh every single morning before the morning prayer, before shachrit. I try to go before. I used to go before every Shabbos. I haven't done that in a while, but I used to for a long time. Go every Friday afternoon. I now go usually before the festivals and the holidays. So yes, Jews do have water immersion rituals. You're still online, says JP. Yes, I am. This is turning into quite a long stream. And I wanted to say goodbye a while ago, and I felt that tired wave, but I'm still here. Should I go? I will go. 1:30 a.m. 2.5 hours. This was so much fun. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your kind and gentle attention. Thank you for the love, the hate, the subs, the views, the likes, the comments. Hit me up in the DMs if you want. Hebrew Nazarite across the board. On X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I don't post much, but I'm there for the DMs. Be blessed. Be blessed. Be a blessing. Be the light in other people's lives. A quick prayer for justice and peace and love and grace and kindness to cover all creation the way water covers the sea. This multiverse of multiverses that we inhabit, with our small little lives within it. May we know ourselves better. May we be able to be watchful, like the Ramchal said. May we be able to pay attention to our ways and find ways to burn off the bad stuff and strengthen the good stuff. May we always be learning. May we always remain curious. May we always be open to experiences, despite how they may seem, and even if they seem highly punishing. May we keep courage and comfort and faith. May we be able to always be on the side that is giving. May we also know when to receive. On that note, peace and love from Jerusalem. This has been such a blast. I thank you. Let's call it a night. It's 1:30 a.m. End stream.